Hey guys, Steve here. About a year ago I showed you how I used my Amazon Echo to open up my garage door. Well, since then it's becoming even easier to do with this little product right here from Sonoff. This is a little relay switch, which when installed will imitate you pushing the door open button inside your garage. Now this hooks up to your Wi-Fi and then can be controlled with your smartphone, and then you can eventually hook it up to your Amazon Echo. So I'm going to show you what you need and we'll set this up. Now that we're in the garage, I went ahead and found the garage door button. This is the button that actually opens up the garage door. And right next to mine is a set of wires that actually goes to the button and goes to the garage door opener. And that's good. That means I can use this little Sonoff switch with my garage door opener. If you don't see wires right next to it, there's a chance it's just behind the drywall. And that's still okay, but we're going to take a look at the garage door opener next. So I crawled up next to my garage door opener and I found the side where the control panel is. Now this is just a little door that comes off, and inside here I see a bunch of wires that are screwed into 3 terminals. Now a couple of these wires are hooked up to the sensor, the trip sensor on the garage door. That way if a kid was to run under the garage door while it's closing, it'll send the door back up. Well then 2 of these wires go to that button that actually opens up the garage door. Now I know that those terminals on my garage door are the first and second one. Now, if I was to take a piece of wire and just connect those 2 screws together, those 2 terminals, the garage door would open up. Now we're going to take a piece of wire and we're going to run it to each of these terminals here. And the wires that come off of there will then get hooked into our Sonoff. Now this is, like I said, is just a switch. And when we trigger this, it's going to make these 2 connectors touch, essentially making these 2 touch for 1 second, which will open up our garage door. So before we actually hook this up to the garage door itself right now, we're going to go inside and we're going to set this up and hook it up to our Wi-Fi. So before we set up this board on our phone, let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. Now, for a size comparison, it is a lot smaller than, let's say, a deck of cards. Now, on one end of the board, there is a spot for a micro USB cable. Now, this board did not come with a micro USB cable or a power supply, so you'll have to provide those on your own. I'll leave a link in the description down below for those 2 items if you need them. On the other end of the board is where we will be hooking it up to our garage door opener. There are 3 connectors on the end of this, and if we were to flip the board over and look at the back, the center pin is the common pin, so no matter what, we'll be hooking our garage door opener up to the very center of this pin. Now at the very top and the bottom says NC and NO. That means normally closed and normally open. If we were to take a multimeter here and set it up to connectivity, so if we were to take these 2 wires and touch them, it makes that buzzing sound. So if we were to go from the center pin to our normally open, it makes no sound. But if we were to go from the center pin to normally closed, it makes that buzzing sound. So we'll be hooking this up to the center pin and the normally open pin. So let's go ahead and we will power this on and we'll go from there. Now when this board powers on, there will be a blinking light saying it's ready to be programmed. You'll see on here that there are 2 push buttons. There's the one in the center and the one at the edge. Now when this board boots up for the first time, it's in a mode called inching mode. That means if we push the button that's in the center, it'll trigger the relay for a half a second and then turn it off. We can try that right now by push the button, it triggered the relay, and then it turned it off. That's called inching mode, and that's what we want for the garage door opener. Now this other button will put it into a mode that will keep the relay switch on until you push that button again. So let's try that. We'll push this bottom button, which will then turn on the outside light. Now when we push the button, it'll trigger once and it stays on. When we push that center button again, it turns the relay off. So we will go ahead and we are going to put this into inching mode again. So we're going to push this button that's on the outside edge. That'll turn off the light. Put it in inching mode, and when we press the button, triggers, half a second later, turns it off. That's what we want. So we're also going to use that button that's in the center to put that into the pairing mode. Now before we start the pairing mode, we need to download a couple apps onto our phone. We're going to take our phone and go to the App Store, and we're going to search for the eWeLink Smart Home Control. So go ahead, download, install, and set up your account. Now I also own another Sonoff device that controls my light. Now within the app, I already have 2 devices already set up in my home. One for my light and for my printer. And I made a video about that device and I'll leave a link up above and down below if you want to check that out as well. Now with that set up, we're going to go to the settings app on our phone and we're going to go up to our Wi-Fi. Now we're going to take our little board here and we're going to hold down on that center button for 8 seconds. So we're going to hold that down until we get the light to start blinking constantly. Not blinking with a space in the middle, but constantly blinking. That'll turn this into the Wi-Fi mode so that we can hook to the Wi-Fi chip that is on this board. So now with that light blinking, let's go back to our phone. Now we're going to look for the Wi-Fi network that says IT followed by a bunch of numbers. That is going to be this switch. So we're going to click on that network and it asks us for the password. The default password is 12345678. Now with it connected to the Wi-Fi network of this board, we're going to go back to the eWeLink app. At the very bottom of the page, there's a little plus sign. So we're going to go ahead and hit that plus sign. And the mode I'm going to use is the compatible pairing mode AP that is down at the very bottom, right above the next button. And it's going to tell you to do the steps that we just did. Next, it's going to ask us for our home Wi-Fi. Now, these boards will only work on the 2.4 gig spectrum. So if you have the 5 gig spectrum, this board will not work on that. But just so you know, most home Wi-Fis will have a 2.4 gig network on there. Now, when you finally get this board connected to your home Wi-Fi, the next thing is to give this a name. And that's what we're going to call it through our Amazon Echo and also on our app. So we're just going to call this Garage Door. Now with that done, we'll see that Garage Door shows up as one of our new devices. But we can now push this on-off button on our phone and it should trigger the relay. So let's give that a try. So it triggered it on and it triggered it off. Now like I said, that is in the inching mode. Now if we were to push this button on the outside again, that'll put it into the locking mode. And when we push this on-off button, it turns on the device and turns it off. Now, I don't know if you can see my light here, but I also have a light here. I can trigger that on. Turns it on. I can turn it off. Now, if we click on not the on-off button, but click on the device picture itself and go up to the top corner, we can go into the settings for this device. So at the very bottom of our settings, there is the item for inching. Now this is where we can change this to inch for longer than a half second. So right now, with this outside light off and the other one on, when we push it, it inches for a half second. And when we push this on so the light is on and turn it on, it stays on forever until we push the button again. So if we were to keep this light on the outside and use our app under that inching setting, we can turn this on and then change our duration to something to more than a half second. So say we want this to turn on for 2 seconds, we can enter 2, enter. Now when we push the center button, it'll turn on, stay on for 2 seconds, and then turn off. There we go. So now that we have this set up in the eWeLink app, we're going to use our eWeLink account and connect it to our Amazon Echo. So I have to go back to the App Store and download the Amazon Alexa app and go into that and make sure you are logged into your Amazon account. Now, if we click the hamburger at the very edge and go into Skills and Games, we can now look for the eWeLink app. So we're just going to hit the search bar and we're going to type eWeLink. And you will see one of the first ones that come up, eWeLink Smart Home. So if we click on that, we can then enable this and log in with that same account information that we use in the eWeLink app. Now, with that set up, we can ask Alexa to look for new devices. Alexa, look for new devices. So she's going to look for 20 seconds and try to find our garage door.
I found garage door, and you can control it by saying, turn off garage door.
So you see that she had just found one new device. That would be our garage door. Now we can say, Alexa, turn on the garage door. Now she just triggered it and turned it off. So she is going to respond to on and off. But if you don't like saying that, if you like saying open the garage door, so we're going to click the little hamburger and go down to routines. Now these you can create customized words that you say to her. So we're going to hit the plus sign that's at the very top. And at the very top, we're going to select when this happens, we're going to click the plus sign. We're going to use voice because we want to tell her something. And you're going to enter a phrase. We're going to say open the garage door. Next, we're going to select an action and we're going to look for our smart home. And then we're going to choose our garage door. And we're going to change our power state to on and click next. And then we're going to hit save. Now this may take a minute or two, but let's give it a try. Alexa, open the garage door. There, she triggered it on and triggered it off, just like we wanted. Now, if we wanted to have her close the garage door by saying close the garage door, you would just do the exact same actions and just change it to close the garage door. So now all we have to do is go ahead and install this into our garage door, and that should be the easy part. So this little board here did not come with a case or anything like that. So we want to make sure that none of these pins that are on the back touch anything metal, because that could short it out. So go ahead and take some electrical tape or duct tape and put it on the back here to make sure that it doesn't create an electrical contact anywhere. And then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to tape this next to our garage door. So let's go back to the garage and we'll finish installing this. All right, so I'm back out in the garage. I got my Sonoff all hooked up. And before I actually hooked this up to anything, I took 2 layers of black electrical tape and I ran it over the back of this board just to make sure I didn't ground it out on anything metal. So before I put the tape on, I took a black marker and I put 2 dots on these terminals so I knew which terminals to run the wires to, the normally open and the common terminal. So I took 2 pieces of wire, ran it in there, and then I ran the other end to the first 2 terminals on my garage door opener. So I plugged in the USB cable and I plugged it into the same outlet that powers the garage door. That way everything is nice and close to one another. Now in the end, I'm going to just take some regular duct tape and tape this onto the garage door, or I could even set it on top, that's just fine, as long as I don't make contact with any of the other metal on here. So now with all that set up, we can now take our phone and we can give this a try. Now I'm going to have the duck out of the way when this starts opening up because I'm right next to it. Let's give this a try. There we go. Now that we see that the garage door opens with our app, we can now see that it closes the same way. And there we go. Now we have our garage door controlled with our phone. And if we were to go inside and tell Alexa to open up the garage door, she would trigger this as well and do the exact same thing. So that's it for this video and this little $10 Sonoff device. If you want to pick up one of these, you can pick it up on Amazon, and I will leave a link to that down below. Now, if you have any questions about this project, feel free to ask down below and I will try to answer them for you. Now, I hope you liked this video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I will have more smart home videos coming out in the future, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.